Good evening, everyone out there. Welcome to our Planning Commission tonight, April 2nd. We are in April. Flag salute by Commissioner Hagel, please.
Please stand. Ready after me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bob. Roll call, please. Denise?
Commissioner Hagel,
Here.
Solis,
Here.
Watson,
Here.
Watts,
Here.
and Chair Turley Trail.
Here.
All are present.
That is tricky. Watson and Watts, huh? Okay. Do we have any public comments on non-agendized items?
We have not received any.
Okay. Then I will go straight to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered to be routine, and all will be enacted by one vote. There will be no discussion of these items unless members of the commission request specific items be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. A total of 30 minutes is provided for members of the public to address the commission on items that appear on the consent calendar. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission's secretary. Speaker cards will be called in the order received. Still images may be displayed on the projector. All other audio and visual use is prohibited. Public comments may also be submitted by email for inclusion into the record. Email comments must be received prior to 6 p.m. and submitted to planningcommission@temeculaca.gov. All public participation is governed by council policy regarding public participation at meetings, adopted by resolution number 2021-54. And the first item on our consent calendar is the minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll move the minutes.
Second. Sorry.
All right, we have a first or a motion by Bob Hagel and a second by Gary Watts and Watson. Watts and his brother Watson.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the second item, Director's Hearing Summary Report. So, we're good. Public hearing tonight
So we need to have a vote on that?
on the Director's Hearing. I
No,
need
no,
it.
no, no. So it's a consent calendar item, so we can have both actions taken together, but there was a motion and a second, but I didn't hear the vote.
Oh, did I not vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. No one opposed. Perfect. Okay, public hearing. Am I good? We can move now? All right. I was kind of excited, I'm not sure, I think about 2 seconds or something. Okay, public hearing. Any person may submit written comments to the commission before a public hearing, or may appear and be heard in support of or in opposition to the approval of the projects at the time of the hearing. If you challenge any of the projects in court, you may be limited to raising only those issues you or someone else raised at the public hearing or in written correspondence delivered to the commission secretary at or prior to the public hearing. For public hearings, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Public comments may be made in person at the meeting by submitting a speaker card to the commission secretary or by submitting an email to be included into the record. Email comments must be submitted to planningcommission@temeculaca.gov. Email comments on all matters, including those not on the agenda, must be received prior to the time the item is called for public comments. Any person dissatisfied with the decision of the commission may file an appeal of the commission's decision. Said appeal must be filed within 15 calendar days after service of written notice of the decision. The appeal must be filed on the appropriate Community Development Department form and be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. All public participation is governed by the council policy regarding public participation at meetings adopted by resolution number 2021-54. All right. Item number 3, planning application numbers PA 23-0467, a conditional use permit for a type 47 ABC license, a modification to a development plan PA 23-0499, and a certificate of historical appropriateness PA 23-0500 for exterior and interior modifications to an existing historic building, First National Bank Building, including exterior paint color changes. The project is located at 28645 Old Town Front Street. Scott, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you did state, these are planning application numbers 230467, 0499, and 0500 for Gaucho Grill. So 230467 is the conditional use permit for a Type 47 alcoholic beverage control or ABC license. 230499 and 0500 is the modification and the certificate of historical appropriateness for exterior and interior modifications to an existing historic building, which is the First National Bank Building, including exterior paint color changes. So the project is located here in red on the screen. It's 28645 Old Town Front Street. It's originally the First National Bank Building. It's also formerly the Bank Restaurant. So the First National Bank Building, you can see here in a very old photograph, was constructed in approximately 1914. The building is on the local historic register for the city of Temecula. So what is a finding of historical appropriateness? So the purpose of that finding is for the maintenance, retention, and preservation of the historical building, form, detailing, materials, and architectural features that are important in defining the historic character of the building. The Old Town Specific Plan requires the finding for any designated historic building that is modified or altered in any way, including alterations or modifications to the exterior, interior of the building. The Old Town Specific Plan requires a review of the historical appropriateness with a recommendation by the Old Town Local Advisory Committee, or OTLAC, before the project can move forward to the Planning Commission. On February 27th of this year, staff did present the certificate and modification to the OTLAC, where the Advisory Committee recommended that they be approved by the Planning Commission. That was done by a 5-0 vote with one committee member absent. So for the modifications to the exterior of the building include new paint on exterior building, including the facade, doors, and window trim using colors from the Old Town Specific Plan Sherman-Williams Preservation Palette, new accessible entrance on the rear of the building, outdoor patio areas are being demolished and regraded to meet ADA requirements. There's a new enclosed trash area, reconditioning of outdoor patio cover and the bar area, and new raised landscape planters along Main Street and Old Town Front Street using plant materials from the Old Town plant list. In addition, there are modifications to the interior of the building. Those do include renovate the existing restrooms, including fixture relocations, finish and fixture upgrades for durability, aesthetic, and accessibility, reverse door swings to existing restrooms, including install new historically appropriately styled doors, interior finish replacement in the main dining room, flooring replacement, paint application on all walls and ceilings, replace existing light fixtures with new pendants and wall sconces throughout the first and second floors, interior finish replacement in the second floor lounge dining area, floor replacement, paint application on all walls and ceilings, paint all other interior spaces, kitchen hood upgrades and kitchen finish upgrades for health department compliance and new operations, and refresh the existing bar area for accessible serving area cleanup due to wear. And finally, remove non-structural partition at second floor lounge and dining area. In terms of the site plan, we'll show you here what's going on the project site. So you have Old Town Front Street on the top of the screen. Main Street is on the right side. So this arrow shows where the new accessible entrance will be. The blue shows the regraded outdoor patio area. You have the enclosed trash area and the reconditioned outdoor patio cover and bar, and then the location of the raised landscape planters. This is a photograph of the existing building today. Now for the proposed elevations, this would be the Main Street view, the Old Town Front Street view, and there are 3 color changes to the buildings. You have the classical white, which is the main building color, located in those locations. Then you have the Colonial Revival stone, which is for the bands in the cornice and the door and windows trim, located here. And then finally, you have the Colonial Revival green stone, which is for the steps and the base of the building. This is a rendering of what the building will look like once it is painted. Oh, and also, we do have the conditional use permit. So it is for a type 47 on-sale general eating place, which authorizes the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for consumption on the licensed premises. The hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. There was an error in the staff report. The staff report said it was Sunday to Monday and Sunday to Thursday, so that's being corrected at this time. And then Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. So the ABC will process the public convenience or necessity if required. And then conditions have been added to the conditional use permit for a full menu available at all hours that alcohol is served, and the termination of alcohol sales shall be no less than 1/2 hour prior to closing. Terms environmental, it is exempt from 15061B3, which is the general rule exemption, because there is no possibility that the proposed project would have a significant impact on the environment, as well as section 15301, which is a class 1 for existing facilities. With that, staff does recommend the Planning Commission approve PA 230467, PA 230499, and PA 230500, subject to the conditions of approval. Conditions of approval were provided to the applicant. They were accepted by the applicant and his team. That does conclude my report. I'm here for questions. The applicant is here, the owner is here, the architect is here, their whole team is here. So we're ready for questions.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate that report. We have questions for Scott? Okay, Bob?
I just had one question. You referenced some change on the second floor?
So the second floor will become an extra eating and bar area.
Okay, so second floor meaning the second story of the building?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Gary?
Scott, could you bring the picture back up of the building?
You put the picture on the screen?
Okay. Looks like a great historic building, and I'm trying to, well, this is the wrong one. I wanted the new sign.
After painting?
The
one.
rendering, yeah.
It just strikes me as being almost clashing with the historic building and then a sign that's really modern. I'm assuming that had to meet all the development standards, and it does.
So two things. One, the sign is not historical as part of the building. And two, as part of this approval, the sign is not approved. So the sign would come, any signage on the building will come back in at a later date for staff review.
Okay. Okay, I would just like to register now then that in that process that we try to make it as historical replication as we can to match the building. I'll use an extreme example of what wouldn't work. We could put a bright neon sign on the White House and say the White House, even though it's not in the building, and it would look horrible. So anyhow, I just wanted to register that since it's not in there yet. When you do get to that point, please take my comments into consideration. Thank you.
That will be noted for future review.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Watson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. A couple of questions. Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Cooper. A couple of questions from it. I prepared these, so I'll just try to get through them as quickly as I can. In our package, we looked at the conditions of approval, section E2 calls out the requirement for food and beverage sales documentation. Section F1B defines the principles of a bona fide eating establishment. In the applicant's statement of operations document, he declares, "We do plan on serving full liquor for on-site consumption only in conjunction with a full-service restaurant." So all three of those conditions are helpful, but it's my understanding that I think a Type 47 license comes with a slightly more specific requirement that as a bona fide eating place, at least 51% of the gross sales must come from food. Is that your understanding?
That is correct per the ABC requirements.
In in the way that we've stipulated that, I guess I'll ask then, because I didn't see that specific language in the conditions of approval, the stipulation of 51% of gross sales must come from food. Is that something that could be brought into the COA?
So the one question I would have with that, and I would reach out to our city attorney, would be if we're going to condition the 51%, is who is responsible for monitoring that? Is it ABC, who I assume they do in order for the liquor license to stay active, or does the city need to set up some sort of monitoring program to monitor food sales?
I would probably have to look into that further, but just thinking of this through, that if we're imposing the condition, and let's say for some reason they're violating that, or there's concerns of violating of that condition, then it would seem that we would have to do some sort of investigation and therefore would have to look at the records. There are provisions within E2 that do allow the city to, upon 15 days' notice, inspect the books to determine the gross sales of food and the gross sales of alcohol beverages, I think under the assumption that there's maybe some monitoring happening. So the city would have the right to do that. So it could be both is probably the answer. ABC would have enforcement authority, the city would have enforcement authority under its conditions of approval.
So do we think that that language covers the 51%?
No, that language that I just read from only expressly says we have the right to look at the books to determine what the gross sales are. That language does not explicitly say that the gross sales must be 51% in compliance with, the ABC standard. So if we can certainly add that, make, a recommendation to add that.
I guess that's what I'm asking for. I can't imagine why the applicant, who seems like a reputable applicant, would have any objection to that, the 51% stipulation. It's called for in the ABC Act of 2025, so I can't see why that would be a problem. Is it possible? Do we have the means to just ask the applicant? If they
Yeah,
have
we
some-
can we'll make a notation when the applicant comes up, they can address that.
I had another question. I guess I'm referring to, just a moment. I don't have the drawing reference, but Mr. Cooper will, I'm sure. Can you pull up the one that shows in the floor plan, the private lounge? It may be A202.
Can we put that PDF on the screen?
Okay, thank you. So I'm referring now to the private lounge you see in the top of the drawing there. It looks like a 9-person occupancy with at a fairly small 138 square feet. Here's my question. Do you see any potential conflicts between the applicant's private lounge and the certificate of, the condition of approval mention of private club rooms or areas? That no on-sale establishment shall maintain a room or designated area reserved for the exclusive use of designated persons or private club members. That's found at section K on page 7 of 10 in the COA. And then, if the private lounge is considered a private club, room, or area, has or will the applicant make the requisite application for a duplicate on-sale general license for designated persons according to Business and Professions Code, section 24042B.
So in talking with the applicant, this will be strictly a private dining area. And we could ask the applicant if they would be comfortable changing the title of that area from private lounge to private dining area.
Thank you. I had a little bit of a concern about entertainment licenses that the applicant could apply for. Does Temecula cap or otherwise regulate the number of entertainment licenses or temporary use permits by establishment by year?
They could get one license for their establishment.
And when you say one license, does that mean for one event or one
So-
live music event?
One entertainment license that gets renewed yearly.
I see.
So, or they could also do, we have our temporary outdoor live entertainment program that runs until August of this year as a pilot program.
Okay.
So they could technically apply for one of each of those, but it would only be one of each of those per the establishment.
Okay. I think I had one more for you. And it's probably me misreading the drawings, but but it caused me to ask a question about the consumption of alcoholic beverages and the prohibition on that. According to our municipal code, section 9.14.010. Does the separation provided by the Core 10 raised planter boxes make outdoor consumption allowable? Will people be able to drink in that area?
It does. We've found out through the years that there's very little requirements from ABC for the actual separation. For instance, if you look down at like where Espadine and Crush and Brew is, there is the separation is one small wire that goes across, and that's significant separation. So by these using those planters in that area, that would provide enough separation from the public realm of the sidewalk to the private premises where the alcohol is being served.
Thank you. And then this may be one for the applicant, but of course I see them on the drawing, so I wonder about the outdoor furnishings and furniture and tables and chairs and notably the umbrellas. Does the applicant intend to? Do they have a procedure or policy to bring those in or secure them at night? Do we know?
So we can ask them that. I've noticed throughout Old Town, some people leave them out at night and use kind of like long bicycle locks and lock them up. Some people bring them in every night. It's up to the owner, so we can definitely include that with their questions.
Okay, and then the last thing and this is probably one we'll want to aim, but I want to get it on the record to see if we know if the applicant intends to play any music, amplified or otherwise, at that outdoor bar area.
So if it's just house dinner music, that is allowed by right. It's if you start bringing in actual entertainment is when you would need the extra license.
Thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Fernando? Last but not least.
All right, I have very simple questions. Could you go to the rendering, please? That's a great looking rendering. That's really good. Looking at the rendering and looking at the plans, I see two differences. One of the differences is the sign, which I agree with Commissioner Watts. That sign on the rendering doesn't really look historic. It looks like a big box sign. And the sign that you have on the plans looks modern yet kind of historic. It fits with the building. It has your sign on it. It looks like a great brand. We know it's Gaucho Grill, and I agree with Commissioner Watts about the sign. And then another question I have is that patio in the back on the plans, it says wood canopy to be reconditioned. And then on the rendering, it looks like a brand new, beautiful canopy patio, which looks great. But on the plans, it doesn't show that. So that's a question that I have. And my last question is also on the plans. There's a metal, kind of like an access ladder on the facade. On the rendering, there is no ladder. There you go, that one. Which I don't think that's the best location for it. On the plans, it's also on the plan. So my question is it being relocated?
We can have the applicant answer that one as well.
Okay, I think, my last question is, maybe to the applicant, is on the plans, it says that the bar area will be, outdoor bar remodel. I just want to know what kind of details are the remodel. From the rendering, it looks beautiful. I'd just like to know what kind of details, and that's it.
Okay, any other questions for Scott? I don't have any questions. I've already asked Scott some questions, but I loved that picture of the original. That's super cool. That building was built in 1914. So that building's important to us. Anyway, okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and invite the applicant up. Welcome. All of you can come up if you want. Whoever wants to speak would be great. Welcome.
Good evening, council member, city staff. My name is Adrian Amosa, and I'm proud to speak today not just as a business owner, but as a resident of Temecula since 2022. I started in the hospitality industry in 2008 when I acquired my first Gaucho Grill in Brentwood. Gaucho Grill is a well-known Argentine restaurant brand, first established in 1986. In 2016, I reimagined the concept to better reflect the modern Argentine steakhouse, more upscale, with a focus on prime meats, scratch-made dishes, and elevated experience. We opened our first of this new model in Downey, followed by West Covina, Buena Park, and Pasadena. All of these restaurants proudly maintain a 4.5 star in Yelp. Beyond business, I'm very committed to the community in Temecula. I'm currently developing a vineyard and an agricultural project on my own property with the vision of supplying organic products to all our restaurants. I also maintain a spotless record with ABC and the local police departments across all cities where we operate. I'm excited to bring Gaucho Grill to Old Town Temecula, and I'm looking forward to deliver a new great food experience to the area. In response to a couple of the questions, we are totally open on the sign adjustment. I think it's a really good observation. Lounge definitely can be changed to dining area because it's what it's meant to be. 51% is totally reasonable. Our locations operate in 40% or lower on the alcohol sales, so our food exceeds by the majority the liquor sales. Furniture, outdoor is something that we need to figure it out, but I probably prefer to keep it safe where it is in order not to damage it in the moves of getting in and out. And definitely no amplified music is going to be played because we have our own playlist in all the locations for background music.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions for the applicants? I'll start down here. Bob? Gary? Mr. Watson? Mark?
I wonder if you could, thank you for coming and welcome tonight.
Thank you so much.
I wonder if you could tell me, or could we talk a little bit to the issue of the private lounge?
Well, again, it's not meant to be a private lounge. It's a dining area. So that's why I'm saying is I'm okay to rename it to dining area instead of private lounge.
Okay, great. And confirming you're fine with the stipulation of 51% gross sales in your conditions of approval?
I am, yes.
Thank you.
Can I actually clarify that issue? I'm so sorry. I found the language now in the condition of approval. There is language that already states, this is on page 8, that it starts on F1 where it says that the establishment must operate as a bona fide eating establishment. And then if you look on page 8, it says establishment is presumed to be operating as a bona fide eating establishment if the quarterly gross sales of food prepared and sold to guests on the premises exceeds the gross sales of alcohol beverages for the same period. So I think that's getting to the it's got to be 51% or more. It's not explicitly saying 51% or more, but it has to exceed. So if you want to add 51%, we would probably add it there, but I think it's already covered.
Can you tell me where that is again?
Sure, it's on page 8 of the conditions of approval, and it's B at the top.
Oh, okay. Okay,
And it talks about how the records
right.
have to be kept no less frequently than on a quarterly basis and have to be made available to the city for inspection.
Okay.
I think I can live with a majority, I think I understand a majority to be 51 or better, so I can live with that.
Okay,
I think I'm
fantastic.
fine with that. Does that, who then is if we do opt to do an audit of quarterly sales, who does that?
I think that would be this allows the city to do it. I think ABC also would be authorized to do it because ABC also has that requirement. So it's both.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Fernando?
No, I just had, if you can answer, please, the questions about the sign?
Christopher Campbell, architect.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, appreciate the time.
Can you just speak right into the mic?
Sorry,
That'd be
excuse me.
awesome.
With regard to the historic fire escape, it is shown, that's the metal
yeah.
structure attached to the side of the building. We intend to remove it unless we hear objection. We believe that it would kind of clean the building up and make it look really, really sharp. With the placement of the sign proposed, although not approved in this application, we think it's a little cluttered to have that there. So it's our intention to remove it when the painting of the building takes place. With regard to the refurbishment or reconditioning of the outdoor bar space, as we begin the work, there will be a new bar face and bar top, which Adrian can perhaps speak to. It is mentioned in the plans. The structure that surrounds that, as we get into sanding and repainting, we're going to discover that things have deteriorated a little bit more than we expect, I presume. And so as a part of reconditioning, there'll probably be some replacement of existing lumber in existing places at existing sizes, and some cleaning up of the corrugated metal roofing. But we do not propose to build any more patio structure than is already there within these plans and this approval.
I think my concern is that the patio is too low for the rendering that you have. And if your intent is to make it higher and make it look like the rendering, is that your intent, or are you gonna really just refurbish that low dilapidated patio area?
We hope to make it undilapidated.
Okay.
But yes, it is to refurbish the existing. I will admit, you have a very sharp eye, Commissioner Solis. The original proposal that we brought into the city did envision deconstructing that and rebuilding it in a more elaborate fashion. As we went through the review process with staff and headed towards the Old Town Local Advisory Commission, it was decided to leave it, to maintain the condition that it's in now, the look, rather than to rebuild it in what we were proposing to do a little more modern way. And so it's gonna stay largely the way that it is, but look a lot better.
Okay, but your goal is, your initial goal was to redo the whole thing?
Yeah, it was to
Okay.
get rid of the corrugated and
Okay,
put a
I'll
new
put that
fascia
down
on
on my
it.
note.
And
Okay.
yeah, but
Thank you.
through the review process with staff, that was eliminated from the plans.
Okay. And, okay, thank you. I think that answers all my questions.
Okay, I do have a couple of questions. Back to the ladder.
Yes.
So did you talk to the Old Town Advisory?
It did not come
Committee
up.
Did not come up.
It did not come up.
So the ladder's not on that 1914 picture, so it was not part of the original structure, so it was probably added at some other point.
Okay,
Just something else to bring up, because we found some pictures over the past couple of weeks. We were talking about like colors and how the building looked. At one point in time, that building was actually like very green.
Green, sea green.
So it's been many different
Right.
things over time's been added and subtracted. And so
I
now
remember
we're
it being
here to
green.
getting back to closer to what it was original.
okay, so the ladder was not originally built on there?
was not.
Okay, okay, that was my concern. And then this might be a question for Adrian. You were saying that you were in good standing with the police in all of your restaurants. So I just, I had asked Scott for an incident report for any of your restaurants as far as with, anytime there's a type 47. That's a concern of ours. And especially in this location where we've had a big problem and it's been a big thing, we want to make sure that whoever goes in this particular establishment is very reputable. So that was my question about incidents at your other restaurants.
Incidents in regards of
Where police have to come, where there's incident reports where police have had to come to your restaurants because of people being overserved or drinking too much or fighting or whatever it might be.
No, in none of our
None at all?
locations. No, I mean we have to call the police a few times in one of the other locations because we have problems with in different regards, but not related with fightings or alcohol.
Okay,
Probably people coming because they want to sell something to the customers,
Oh, okay.
things like that. So nothing related with liquor or fightings.
okay. So I think, at least for me in Old Town specifically, because there are so many restaurants that have a type 47 that serve alcohol, and is that those that are working and serving alcohol are very trained well to not overserve, because people are sometimes hopping, right, from one restaurant to another, whoever's going to serve them liquor. So that's probably my biggest concern, is just to make sure that we keep that really regulated, so to speak.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, it's our concern as well. We are family-oriented business, so we don't look for that. Our staff, from the hiring process to the training, are 100% educated on how to handle all the situations related with the sale of alcohol. As a matter of fact, we have a mandatory class with ABC in order for them to be hired. That is called LEAD, and that is where they receive all the training on how to deal with this privilege.
Okay, great. So this building where you are wanting to have another Gaucho Grill, is it quite smaller than your other restaurants, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, we have different footprints. The one in Downey, that was the first of the new model in 2016, originally was 2,900 square feet, so it was a little bit bigger than this one. But our Buena Park location is 10,000 square feet. So we have different footprints
Right.
and different operations on each one. We have been studying this location a lot, so we know that we can deliver execute our operations in a perfect model.
Okay. And you said your first Gaucho Grill was 2016?
On the new model, I started with Gaucho Grill in 2008.
Okay. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're
Appreciate you answering the questions. Any other questions? Yes, Gary.
None of the applicant.
Oh, not of the applicant. Okay, any other questions for the applicant? We good? Thank you so much for all of you being here. Appreciate it. And do we have any public comments?
We have received none.
Okay, then I will,
Yeah, go ahead.
Could I have just a moment?
yes, of course.
I'm the manager of the property for the owner. We've owned the building now for, I think, approximately 7, 8 years.
And firstly, Madam Chairperson and Commissioners, I really appreciate your time, appreciate your thoroughness in going through this. I can tell you that if there's one thing I think we're similarly situated on, we don't want, as the owners, as you don't want, as the city, to repeat the experience we had before. It was horrible, I think, for both of us. And I think
Definitely.
we can concur with you on that.
Okay.
So I want you to know we spent quite a bit of time trying to find somebody that we would be proud to have as a
Okay.
tenant, that would be an upgrade in every regard, and be a good tenant for the city and for us. And so we did quite a bit of homework and investigating. I personally visited his restaurants, spoke to quite a few people, got references, and we're quite proud to have Adrian. And I will also tell you that I've dealt with him over the last 2 years many, many times in quite a few meetings, and he's just a terrific, wonderful person to deal with. And my expectation is he'll be the same for the city as he's been for us to this point. So I'm looking forward to the Gaucho Grill being there, and I'm hopeful that the city will be really happy as well.
Thank you. Tell me your name again. Tell us.
Norm Solomon.
Norm Solomon,
And the ownership
the owner of the building.
is Zip Third Investments.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you for speaking. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Questions? of
I just had a quick
applicant?
comment.
Wait. Do you have any questions for the applicant?
No, I
Okay,
said no
then I'm going to
before.
close, I need to close the public hearing then. Okay. I will go ahead and close the public hearing.
10 years now almost on the planning commission, so we've dealt with quite a few type 47s, I believe, on a consistent basis. They keep coming in, and it seems to me at first, when I first saw the language that Commissioner Watson was referencing, I thought the same things, like, well, who's checking this, you know? And after approving so many of them, I can see the workload would be tremendous. And in my opinion, it would be ABC's responsibility to verify that condition. And if not, I would certainly think that would be, if we ended up doing that, auditing those things, I certainly think that would be a decision that needs to be made at the city council level, not at the planning commission. That's just my opinion. But that, I just wanted to make that comment. It's something we've dealt with almost every time we get a restaurant application as the type 47, same language and the same conditions. So it's not anything new, and it does present a little conundrum if we've set up the situation, but nobody's checking it. But then again, nobody's really defined thoroughly who is ultimately responsible for that. So anyhow, just a little background and for whatever it's worth.
That's good. Thank you. Any other comments? Or we could ask questions of staff if you have any questions.
Yeah, I have a question about the patio, about that back canopy area. The applicant stated that his original intent was to do a major remodel to the back area, but the committee in the local,
Old Town
Old Town, can you
Local
tell me a little,
Advisory.
can you tell me a little bit about what they thought?
They had no comments on the back patio area. The back
Oh.
patio area is not part of the historic structure.
Okay, so I guess my question is the rendering looks great, and I feel that that patio in the back, if the applicant is okay, or I don't know if staff has any opposition to.
It was not staff's decision from the original submittal, which is the rendering, to what's
Okay.
being proposed today, was not staff's guidance to remove the original patio to what it is today. It was the applicant's decision.
Okay, I understand. I think that's it. My main concern is kind of the patio. There's gonna be a really brand new restaurant. They're gonna paint the building. They're gonna do great furniture. And then that patio in the back, it looks like it's like falling apart.
They said they were going to refurbish it, thoh. They were
I mean,
going
I
to,
think there's
they were
only so
gonna
much
de- what-
refurbishing that
what
you
was the
can
word?
do to some 2x4s.
yeah.
So what does refurbishing mean? I think that's my concern.
And I'd just like to add it, whatever that refurbishing would be, I hope that it would be taken into deep consideration to be compatible with the historic building and the structure and the history and that type of thing. And I'm sure you architects have a wonderful way to make that happen. But I would hate to see something really modern if you redesign that right next to the bank, right next to the building, excuse me. And so if so, I would encourage you to file that away, and if you come back with that, then please take that into consideration, if you will. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Fernando?
No, I think
we
that was
good?
my only concern was the back
Okay.
patio area.
Okay, Mark?
Just the
I'm going to hold you to
briefest-
that.
Yeah, I know you will, yeah, after earlier. Just the briefest of probably the most obvious question, but the Barnett plaque will still remain, is that correct?
Can you repeat the question?
The Barnett plaque outside the entrance?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That remains, okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments? No comments? All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve all three of the applications.
I'll second that.
Okay.
So there were I heard some potential revisions, and I just want to see if they're incorporated, that we needed to make changes to the plans to reflect that what's labeled as private lounge will now be relabeled as a dining area, as there's no intention to have a private lounge. During the presentation, Scott also mentioned a correction to the hours. Did that need to be incorporated, or was that already done?
The hours are correct in the statement of operations.
Perfect, okay, and that was incorporated already. And then just a notation that you wanted, when the signage to come back, that it should be historical.
Not necessarily historical, but in that vein.
In that vein.
Okay.
And then the patio also, if the applicant requests to modify it, to truly modify it, or to truly repair it and not just paint it.
So are we adding a condition to require a refurbishment of the patio? I think we might want to,
Okay,
For the-
should
I
we
mean,
use
is
the
that-
applicant?
Well,
I mean, is this a decision that we have to make for the patio? Because I just feel like if there's gonna be a new restaurant,
why
that
don't
right
we
now's the
bring,
time.
why don't we bring the applicant back up and just, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing and have you guys come back up.
So, under this approval, we don't intend to dramatically deconstruct and reconstruct or alter the look, other than to improve its overall condition, to clean it up and make it a suitable place to enjoy that experience. Adrian has big ideas, but within the time frame that he's looking at in order to open, and kind of the other complications on our side of the ledger as we went through the review process, and as you may have seen in the rendering, it was a little more modern, that element in the background.
Right.
It was decided that it was not something that we could really work out on the time frame that we wanted to.
Got it.
But that's not to say that we won't in the future think about making a further application to the planning department to renovate that area, really the roof of that area only.
Okay.
Because the floor plan and the bar die is already envisioned in this approval to replace the front of the bar and to
I
do
agree.
the seating and the paving.
Okay. Could we, at a minimum, you said it was corrugated metal on top?
The roof currently is, yes.
Is there any way that you can at least change the corrugated metal and replace it with maybe standing seam? Just the roof, just so it can be new?
So we would very much like to do that, but it's not in the drawings now that are before you, and I think that staff might take issue with a change that dramatic
Yeah,
at this point.
procedurally, with what's being proposed tonight, they could only refurbish the existing. If they propose to do a different patio, if they raise it or different materials, they'd have to submit a different application, and that would be a staff review.
I think my concern is how the corrugated metal just looks old. That's my concern. So I don't I'm not trying to make them break it down and build it back up. It's more just like of a cleanup, maybe repainting it, and then just putting a new surface on top so it doesn't look so dilapidated. Because you can't paint that corrugated metal. It's still gonna look old.
There are ways to do
Okay.
things, but there is also new corrugated metal that would replace the old dented, rusted
Okay.
material. So
I'm okay with that. I would like to see that area maybe just repaired a little bit.
So I think new corrugated metal could fall under the guise of refurbishment.
Okay.
And should and when the applicant comes in with a new revised patio, we will take your comments under consideration for review. Given that it's not a modification to the building itself, it would not go to OTLAC, but it would be a staff review, and we could even send it out as an email to the planning commissioners.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to note that the first motion and second has failed, so we'll revote
Okay.
when you get to that point.
Yeah, so we're going to just need to rephrase it again.
Let me close the public hearing. Closed. All right. Are you going to rephrase that for us?
So I will,
Wait, I'm talking to Maricela, actually.
I think we should probably finish the discussion first, and then I can
Okay.
rephrase once we've...
Okay, any more discussion? Are you good with what's,
I'm okay after speaking to the applicant, that
Okay.
the applicant will repaint the structure and
refurbish?
refurbish
He's gonna
it,
refurbish,
per plan,
yes,
per the plan, not the rendering,
right,
right? Okay.
okay.
So just
Anything,
clarify.
any other discussion? All right, so let's go ahead and, can I have a motion, a new motion?
okay, I will make a motion to approve the 3 applications with the changes that have been brought forward, so.
Do you want to say them again?
Sure, now the only change that I am hearing is that the private lounge is going to be labeled as a dining area, and then we're just making a side recommendation that the signage should be as close as possible to the historical feel of the area.
Okay,
And the metal ladder area will be relocated to not the facade?
The elevations show that it's already removed.
Oh, okay, sorry.
okay, all right, we're good.
I'm done.
Do we have a
Second.
second? We have a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, 5-0. Thank you.
Can I make a comment?
You can.
Thank you for coming tonight.
Yeah.
Welcome, and we look forward to your business. It's going to be a welcome addition. We don't have anything in town like that, and you're going to be in a great spot.
Really great spot.
Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you open up.
Here, here.
Thank you.
Well
Yes.
done.
You've got probably one of the best spots in Old Town, so.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, commissioner reports. I will start on this end. Mr. Solis, do you have a report? Not a
Yeah.
subcommittee, just a commissioner report.
I went to, like the farmer's market, was that last week?
Yeah, the Thursday night one?
Yeah.
Sunset Market?
It was a little cold, that's why I think not a lot of people were there.
Yeah.
But it was cool, it had some vendors.
Had you been there before?
I have not.
Yeah?
No.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
I walked there from my office, so
Oh,
it was pretty good.
Awesome. Okay.
Everyone should go to the next one.
I have been.
Okay,
Mark?
that's it here.
I have no commissioner business to report, but thank you.
Okay, awesome. Gary? No. And Bob? Okay. All right, do we have any subcommittee reports?
We have, this evening, we had, before our meeting, we had a subcommittee of the code maintenance, and Katie did a presentation that included, I think it was 7 or 8 changes. Most of it is just cleanup work, which is, no matter how much cleanup we do, there's always cleanup to be done. And I gather from her comments, there's going to be more in the future. Just a lot of little things. And the other thing that we have happen is people will find ways to take what is written and twist it and use it to their benefit. And so we learn, where people are headed in either delaying things or not wanting to pay for things or getting what they want any way that they can. So we made all those little tweaks and hopefully prevent at least a few things from happening we don't want to happen. So we'll see that, I think, at the next commission meeting, so.
Okay. Any other subcommittee reports? Mark?
I have a brief mea culpa to announce. So in all my time as an Escondido Planning Commissioner, I had perfect attendance. All my time on the Board of Directors for Red Hawk, perfect attendance. So far, so good here until tonight. I overlooked, I'm shamefaced to say it, but I overlooked the fact that we did have a committee meeting. Bob, I'm sorry, I wasn't in attendance for that. I
Yeah,
apologize.
but you were on the property, though, so you count.
I was on the property since 3:30, sitting in the parking garage. Yeah, and I just overlooked it. I've been sitting out here the whole time. So again, I apologize very much for my
You're
absence.
fired.
Well, that's
Just kidding.
But I've heard you run a tight ship, and that's evidence right there. All right, so thank you.
All right, community development. Mr. Matt?
No real announcements, just wanted to let you know we are planning a bus tour in October, so our staff is putting together different sites. We'll rent TCSD's little bus.
Will it
And-
just be us or other commissions?
I
Going
think it's
with
just
this?
gonna be planning commission. Yeah,
Cool.
we're just planning on planning commission.
Cool.
Aren't they open to the public, though, the tour?
Yeah, it'll be a notice
Yeah,
meeting.
okay.
Yeah,
Oh, we've never had anybody join us.
no one's joined us,
It's always the
but
first
they're
time.
welcome to.
If I can ask, briefly, we did not, I've never been on a planning commission bus.
Oh,
tour.
it's
What's
the
nature of
best
it?
thing ever.
Is it?
The best.
What do we do?
So we go and look at the things that we voted on and see what's happening and see what's
okay, though.
happening. Voted,
And we
passed.
have loud music and dancing.
Okay,
you-
so
you-
actually we don't.
You guys work on so many things that what we'll do is we'll have our staff take a look, we'll map out a route, and then we'll go see some of the things you've made decisions on in the past and go see how they turned out, the good, the bad.
Yeah.
Huh, what a fine idea that is. Yeah, that's neat closure.
Yeah, and actually, and then you sometimes see things that you voted on that didn't turn out the way that you voted on them too. So all of that is good.
If I can make a suggestion too on that tour, rather, in addition to visiting everything that we've approved, could you maybe include one or two sites that were approved without the planning commission, i.e. the apartments at the Duck Pond, that we never got a
yeah.
chance? So that would be interesting to see,
That's good.
ones that we have approved versus ones that are taking
Mandated.
advantage of our crazy laws.
Mandated.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Also in Uptown, there's only a requirement for notice of intent. So we can go take a look at some projects there that didn't come before the planning commission, but definitely had staff review.
Awesome. Thank you. Good suggestion, Gary. All right, Public Works. What,
Yes.
was that it, Matt? Okay, Public Works.
Oh, yep, just an update. There will be a closure of the northbound Winchester on-ramps at the end of April. And this is going to be the final one prior to the interchange opening fully. So that's all that we have for now. We'll have more at the next Planning Commission for you.
And did they make a decision on the 54-hour, 55-hour closure, what weekend that was going to be?
You know what, I did not get that information, but I can grab that for you and send that over to you.
I was just worried that it was going to be Easter weekend, so
Yeah.
that was my thing.
Yes.
Okay. Any-
Quick question. Nicholas, what was the date of the detour being taken down?
That also I don't have, but I will get that to you
Okay,
too.
thank you.
Okay. So before we adjourn, we have one person in our audience, and I need to introduce her. She is a Trejo, and her name's Maddie May, and she has to be here tonight. She's so excited. I'm her ride home, as she's visiting from Utah for her spring break, so.
Welcome,
Happy
Maddie
to-
May.
Isn't she so cute? So cute. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn until April 16th at 6 p.m. right here. Don't miss it. So fun. No, that's the 15th.